Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Thanks for joining me. Such a lovely, lovely spring morning. And I just love this time of year. I don't know. Maybe I just love all times of year because I find myself saying that quite a bit. But I love the soft, misty mornings. I love grabbing a cup of tea and listening to the birds. I'm always surprised by how many birds are out here around my house and the different kinds and all that good stuff. So I hope you're having a lovely Wednesday morning. As you know, I like to take Wednesdays as sort of a softer day in the week, and I try not to schedule major stuff if I can possibly avoid it. And I give myself a little bit of breather time on Wednesdays to look back on the last 3 days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. How did I do? What's happening? Am I, needing to catch up on things or address certain things? I look ahead Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What's going on there? Am I ready for the rest of the week and the weekend? And I give Wednesdays that kind of space in my week. Now, this may not work for your schedule, but I give Wednesdays as that little space in my week where I don't have to anything. I love joining you here on Wednesdays and catching up and checking in. Um, so, in the last few weeks, I've been talking about setting goals, 90-day goals. I started a 90-day goal starting on the spring equinox, so about 3 weeks ago. So I am, let's say, maybe a quarter of the way through my 90-day goal period. Now, what does that mean? And your goals are going to be different. Hopefully you have some goals, hopefully you're working on them, hopefully you have a defined time frame to work on those goals. And the biggest part about setting goals and achieving them, I think, besides having the plan, knowing what to do, is your mindset around them. You can't really, unless you are the type of person who has always followed an agenda. I have this one client, she's like, yeah, in high school I'd get up at 5:30 in the morning and I'd go for a run and I'd come back and I'd study and do my homework and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, and now you're 35 and you're burnt out. Like, wow, girl. How, she's the type of person who can follow an agenda to almost to her detriment. And then there are other folks, maybe like myself, who like to just sort of do what feels right in the moment and, just sort of be free about things. I like to rebel against any kind of schedule or, you have to this or that. And I like to just do my own thing, but that also can be to your detriment. So having goals. So my goals for this 90-day period are to get up to walking 6,000 steps a day. So that's, I don't know, a little bit over maybe 3 miles or something like that every day. It's no problem for me to walk 3 miles. It's no problem for me to walking 3 miles every day might be, the thing I need to work on. And I cannot expect, when it was March 21st and I was like, okay, 90 days from now, I'm going to be, really, making these goals part of my lifestyle. You can't start thinking that, okay, so starting tomorrow from scratch, I'm going to be at my goal. I'm going to, you can't start with that endpoint in mind. You have to work up to it and you have to give yourself, some leeway to mess up a bit. I'm not advising you to just blow yourself off all the time and be like, well, I don't really have to do that. I do that plenty and we all do. But you also have to give yourself that leeway of, you know what, I didn't do what I was supposed to do yesterday. Because if I break down that 6,000 steps a day, what do I need to do today to be able to get to that goal eventually in 2 more months? And if I blow that off today and say, well, I didn't do it, am I going to just be like, well, that didn't work for me? That I obviously am not the type of person who can walk every day, so I'm just going to give up. You can't do that. You have to give yourself those days where you're not going to perform the way that you should. And that's okay. That's going to happen. Life gets in the way. You get busy, you get tired, you don't want to do it. Fine. But having that goal and knowing that you're working towards something and knowing that you have that time to work towards it and that you have a graduated, stepped up plan. Week 1, I'm walking 2,000 steps every 3 days. Week 2, I'm walking 2,000 steps every 5 days, and you keep bumping it up and bumping it up, whatever makes sense to you. So I kind of went over some of that in previous weeks. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 daily exercises that you need to do so you don't rust. Yeah, are y'all experiencing a little bit of that Tin Man syndrome? One of my first yoga teachers, way back, 15, 20 years ago, I started taking yoga from Ed Shutterlack at Bozeman Iyengar Yoga in the Duck Pond Plaza. If any of you are local here, you know what I'm talking about. And Ed has recently passed away a couple of years ago. I took a lot of yoga from him in the beginning and got my basic Iyengar foundation of yoga down. Now, yoga has lots of different components, lots of different styles. Iyengar is holding poses. It's not really a sequence of poses necessarily. It's holding poses and allowing your body to relax into them, basically. And it also involves strength, and it involves flexibility and being present and tuning into your body. He was an awesome, awesome teacher, and his little flyers that he'd post around town and on his door had the Tin Man on them from Wizard of Oz, right? And you have to oil up those joints. And that is what we need to do on a daily basis to recover from, now I'm going to give you a technical term here, upper crossed or lower crossed syndrome. So this is like in physical therapy or massage therapy, an actual condition where your upper body gets too hunched over on the computer, driving, or whatever other repetitive tasks that we find ourselves doing, where we're hunching over on our phone. Who's guilty of that? And the upper body and lower body becomes strained in an X pattern, upper crossed and lower crossed. So you'll find that your traps are really, your trapezius muscles are really, really tight, or you've got a kink in your neck, or your lower back and your quadrilaterals and other muscles in your lower back are really, really tense. And it forms this X pattern across your back where there's tension spots. And so you've got this shoulders off, and then this side over here in the lower back is really tense, or something like that. So these are repetitive posture misalignments that we're constantly putting ourselves through. There's exercises I'm going to show you today, just 5 basic things that will help counteract that and help open up and help elongate and help release some of that tension that we build up, just doing our daily stuff. So let's get into it. The 5 daily exercises you need so you don't rest. And, I have always been someone who stretches a lot. Not only do I do a lot of yoga, but I also, when I was younger, was in gymnastics and dance. And so I was always stretching, always stretching and doing cartwheels and dancing around and being fun and whatever. And I still do. Dancing by myself right here in this room or in my living room is one of my favorite things. So don't tell anybody that. All right, 5 daily exercises so you don't rest. So before we get into it, let's just settle in. I got my cup of tea here. I'm all comfy in my chair. I've got everything turned off, well, more or less, and I'm ready to focus on me. Just being here now, forgetting about the rest of the world, forgetting about that to-do list that will never get done. That to-do list is a mile long and it always will be. It's called life. So set it aside. Tell everybody that you're not available for this small amount of time where you're going to focus on you. Okay, first up is cow and cat. This is an awesome, awesome exercise. Now, if you go to my webpage and download the cow and cat exercises, then you can click on that link And it will be an instructional video from Yoga Journal that will show you how to do this. But basically, you're on all fours and you're rounding your back, cat, and arching your back, cow, and you're training up and you're going over. And so you're really getting a great stretch in both of those areas that are affected by this upper cross or lower cross syndrome, the upper shoulders and the lower back. And you go through these two poses, just flow from one to the other very gently, very slowly, feeling all of that happening in your spine. It's so yummy. And it's actually squishing the supraspinatic fluid in your spine. I hope I said that right. I hope that's what it's actually called. I'm not making up terms, but you actually have spinal fluid that is independent and coats your spine, and it needs to be twisted and turned and squished. And this is a great pose for, you just get some gentle breathing happening and some really nice, easy movement of your spine. You're going to feel awesome with this one. And it just takes a few minutes, do it for like a minute or two, and you're going to be good to go. And I think you're going to find that there's a lot of sticky spots in there that you didn't even know hurt until you start moving in certain ways and paying attention. Definitely one of my all-time faves. And, when I was a lot younger and a lot more flexible and didn't have so much, built up tension and injury over the years, I'd be doing my yoga and, stretching and stuff, like this one, for example, wide angle stretch. And I'd be like, what's the big deal? And now that I'm older, I'm like, oh my God, this hurts. And so you have to keep at it every day. So here, wide angle stretch. Now, again, not everybody can do all of these to these extents for sure. There are modifications on these web pages that I'm linking to in this little presentation here that you can just go to and find a way to do it in a modified way. So it's easy for you. So don't think that, oh, I can't do it like that, so I just can't do this. You can start somewhere for sure. So this one, we're just seated on the floor, toes and knees pointing straight up to the sky, and we're bending forward at our waist, not hunching over, but bending forward at the waist so that there's an actual, bending forward. We're not hunching over. And then stretching arms out. And as she has her palms turned up, it's actually opening up the upper back, and leaning forward is opening up that lower back. And then we're just getting a nice stretch in the inner thigh and hamstring area. I love this one. I sit in this position a lot. I used to do my homework like in high school in this position, just stretching out for dance and all the other things that I used to do. This is awesome. But if you cannot get your legs out that wide, start in a closer V. It's actually, wherever you're at with yoga, and the stretch is fine. It really is. Yoga is not about competition. It's not about how great you can do the pose. It's about getting into your body and feeling where you need to move and where you need to put your breath. You send your breath to those tight muscles and be present with yourself for a little while. It's really wonderful. So no pressure. All right, next up, basic lunge. Now you can do this one with the knee down on the floor, or you can also do this one in an extended one where you're actually up a little bit and not with that back knee not on the floor. Either way is fine, but this one I find you get a really deep stretch in your hips. I find if I sit in front of a computer or if I'm in the car too long, that your hips get a little bit stiff. This one's really good for stretching out the front of that back thigh that's along the floor there, stretching that out, stretching out the hip flexor, and then getting a really deep lunge in that back gluteus area. Notice how her knee is directly above her ankle. She's not pushing her knee over her toes. That is extremely important to protect your knee like that. So again, look at what's, the instructions on the Yoga Journal links that I'm giving you here. Her back is nice and straight, arms up over her head and right next to her ears. That also might be a little bit tricky for some of you to do, and you might not be able to get into it as deeply as this girl here. That's okay. If you need to have little blocks or something to support your hands and keep your hands on the floor to support yourself in this pose, that's okay too, until you can actually, be flexible and supple enough to support yourself in, with your hands up. You can keep your hands on the floor or use blocks to support you. And then her foot is flat on the floor behind her, going straight back. This is lovely. And then of course, repeat on the other side. If you have questions, feel free to message me. I'm happy to help you out with this, or, send me a little video of you doing it, and I'll tell you, some little pointers on how you can improve it. But these are really basic poses that most people should be able to do in some modified fashion. Everyone's different, and that's okay. Oh, this one, everyone should be at least have heard of this one before, I hope. Downward facing dog. Dogs do this position all the time when they get up. They naturally stretch like this. So heels back down to the floor, getting a nice long stretch through the calves and the hamstrings, opening up that lower back and the upper shoulders. So if you notice, she's got her palms flat on the floor, but I'll also tell you, she has her upper arm, her humerus bone, rotated outward so that it opens up. If you kind of rotate your upper arm outward, keeping your palm flat, you actually, and doing it on the floor, you actually are opening up this upper shoulder area. It's really great. Now, you may not be able to do this with your legs straight if your knees are bent. That's okay, but try to get as close and true to the pose as you can. You also may not be able to have that much shoulder flexibility, and that's okay too. Again, get as close as you can, but everybody should be doing this pose once a day. Get into it. And of course, there's sun salutations that incorporate downward facing dog, and it's really good to flow in and out of other poses. It's sort of like your base pose in yoga. Get comfortable with it. It's really great for your whole body, for sure, for sure. I know it looks like you're torturing yourself a little bit, but I promise it feels really, really good. All right, and then my last exercise, can anybody guess what my next one is? If you had to round it off and be like, here's 4, what's the 5th one? Walking. So no, this is not really a yoga pose. It's actually an active, you could say it's mountain pose in action, but it's walking. We all need to walk every day. So whether that's once around the block for 10 minutes or 5 miles, we all need to walk every day. It is vitally important for you to get up off of that chair, off of the floor, off of the couch, wherever you are, out of bed, whatever, and walk. Your body loves it, needs it, craves it. And really, it doesn't take anything fancy to do any of these things. You just need to tune into your body and give yourself 15 minutes to stretch and then maybe 15 minutes to walk. That's a pretty good start to your day. And believe me, you'll feel it in the rest of your day. All right, so that's what I have for you today, the 5 daily exercises so you don't rust. I really love it when you join me here on Wednesdays. Please feel free to send me a message, say hello, tell me what's up with you, ask some questions. It's really, my pleasure to be here with you and to get to drink some tea with you, because I miss having people in my office. For those of you who would come to see me in my office when I was downtown, I loved making tea for you, and I will do the same once I open up my home office here to the public again. Some of you have been in here in my home office, but Over the last year, it's just been online stuff and I love it. But eventually I'll be making tea for you if you want to come into my home office one more time. I'm certainly going to be opening up my doors maybe sometime this summer. That being said, I hope you all have a really great Wednesday. Take really good care of yourself and take a little time to just stop. Block out that time on your calendar where nobody gets this time. It's precious to me. And I'm going to check in with myself. I'm going to check in with my tracking, my goals, set my intentions, find my gratitude, amp up that vibe. It's all part of how you put yourself out there in the world as your best self. And it's worth it. It's definitely worth it to focus on you for a little bit. So I hope you take some time today to get ready for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and have a really awesome week. Check in next week. I'm going to give you my ultimate food prep meal plan. It's going from the meal planning to the shopping to the food prep to serving it up all in one shot. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite things. And I developed this plan years and years and years ago when I was cooking for a family of 6, and I continue to use it. It's amazing. And making sure that you have healthy food ready to go at all times is super important to your health and well-being. So let's work smarter, not harder in the kitchen, right? All right. Until next time, be well, and thanks for joining me.